can be excluded such that even if I have one Kenyan license and another one which is not Kenyan, then the authority can still validate my foreign license as I work towards getting it converted. Thank you.
We'll take another question before we go to the answers. Maybe 2 more, 3, and then we answer, then we can go to the next bunch.
Okay, morning everyone, and my name's Engineer Thairo Moge. Now, I wish to know on the foreign license conversion, the 6 months you are talking about, is it since the person held the license, or is it 6 months in the preceding 12 or 24 months? That is number one. Number two, there was an issue with the requirement for renewal of the license, that you must prove 24 months experience before you can renew your license, which I think I also provided best industry practice, whether it's FAA or EASA. There is no requirement for the CAA to verify your experience, and I requested that this be left to the QA AMO, because you are not using, it's a renewal. It's not like you want to sign off the work that you've done. I wish to know what has been done about this. It should not be a requirement for you to prove you've been working, because actually I gave
Icao Annex 1.2.2.3.1. I think that's good. It's a very forward-looking regulation that's inputted, because the old regulation was fairly cumbersome for converting a foreign license. However, that old regulation is still there in Regulation 24 Subpart 2. It asks you, among other things, to do an air law examination, airworthiness requirements, AMO procedures, and also composite exam of human factors, science, general knowledge, engineering matters. Now that last part is taken straight out of the Icao Annex 1. Privileges of license holders without a type rating, or an A license holder, which is the new one that's come in. Is there a procedure wherein, on the discretion of the AMO, they are allowed to do basic tasks like duplicate inspections or daily inspections? That's a license holder without a type rating. So just a bit of clarity on these 2 points, please, and thank you.
Thank you. We'll take those 3 questions first, and then we can take another set of 3.
Okay, thank you for the response that has been given to us. We just take one question, almost the last question, that is talking about Icao Annex 1, Chapter 1, 1.2.2.3.1. And if you go through the system, it talks about rendering a license valid pursuant to a formal agreement between contracting states under common licensing requirements. And it says, first of all, 1, we have to adopt a common licensing regulations that are compliant with the annex. 2, enter into formal agreement recognizing the automatic validation process. 3, establish a surveillance system to ensure the continuing implementation of the common licensing regulations. And 4, we must register the agreement with the Icao pursuant to Article 83 of the Convention on the National Civil Aviation. And Article 83 BIS is very specific on those items that must be registered with Icao. And when you go back to Doc 7030, regional supplement procedures on every region, we have managed to put all our differences of our procedures in that document and register it with the Icao. And therefore, for the time being, we are in the process of discussions with the East African community, KCAA, on a common validation and licensing and conversion. For example, if you have your license from East Africa, you only need to sit for airlaw. You don't do a conversion paper. So until the procedures have been established, we have to adhere to what the annex is talking about. Now, if you go to Appendix 5 of Annex 1, it gives the outline on the components that are required for you to be able to do a kind of automatic validation, and the checklist is there that gives all the details that are required. Therefore, with what the annex is talking about, and that's what we have adopted in our regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Personnel Licensing. And good morning, everybody. And welcome again to this session. I think the question number 1 by Susan has been answered by Manager Personnel Licensing with regard to common licensing and validation system, which is going to come. For the aircraft maintenance engineers, we have already come up with a draft manual, which is called Kenya Aircraft Maintenance Engineers License Requirements. This is a document of about 420 pages to help the industry and KCAA in transitioning from the current licensing categorization to the B1, B2. And one of the topics that we have covered in this manual is what Paul Dairo has asked with regard to renewal, that why should it be the business of KCAA to follow you up regarding your license when it expires. For that, we have amended our regulation, not the one on the draft, because after we received that concern, we have amended to delete that clause under renewal, whereby it was a requirement that you submit to KCAA something like worksheet of, or you show proof of experience that you've been maintaining. Supposing you lost your job 6 months ago and you don't have that and your license is expiring, we should give you an opportunity to renew your license. So we have put that in the regulation, and it is well explained in the procedures manual that is going to come soon. So I think that's for Paul Dairo. I will give Mr. Alois Lumutu to respond to Helen. Thank you.
Thank you. On the question on Helen, I'll start from the privileges. You've asked that a license without type rating has no privileges. You are right, because a license without type rating does not give you an authority or a privilege to certify maintenance. However, in our categorization of the licensing system, because we are trying to adopt a universal kind of licensing system like what is being done in IASA, that's why we introduce category A. So that category A, if you do the modules, it will be lesser modules, not very extensive than other categories. And that category A will allow you to issue limited tasks to that particular technician or engineer. For example, issue of changing of landing gears, for example. So it's the AMO to identify which tasks that this engineer or technician can do based on your procedures and your experience with this particular engineer. So yes, you don't have privileges with a rating, a license without rating, but you have that window in category A. On the second issue of Regulation 24, you've talked about, that talks about conversion. It's a requirement of the annex that if you are coming to apply for conversion, it means you must meet the minimum requirement as the initial applicant of the license. And that's supposed to be determined by the authority. And that is why you get that some requirements for conversion are actually the minimum requirements for application for a license. So because you are supposed to confirm that even if you have a foreign license, do you meet our requirement as an initial applicant of the AML? So that is why we put those requirements there. Now, when we want to say, recognize your qualification directly from that particular national authority, we need to have in the Icao or in the annex, we need to have a similar, and the keyword is similar, licensing system. And this licensing system is supposed to be filed in Icao. We are supposed to have a file in Icao under, is it Article 83Bs, something like that, for the lawyers, so that we file the agreement or our licensing system, that the licensing system in Kenya is similar than with that licensing system in Qatar. And we put the conditions and we file it with Icao. That is when we'll automatically recognize your qualification without undergoing through a conversion process in Kenya. So that is a requirement of annex. And that is why we have to introduce, because we don't want also to take you through the process as if you are somebody starting initially, we come up with some sort of examination to qualify you, not necessarily the examination that an initial applicant will go through because you are, at least you have a license. So we what you call composite paper. We are going to have some paper that you can sit to qualify you for conversion, just to take care of your license from the foreign authority. I don't know if that answers your question. Maybe to add something from what Manager Personnel Licensing said, validation in itself is not a license. Validation is a certificate. So when you come to the authority for validation, don't expect to be given a license. You are going to be given a certificate. And so the end result to make it a license is going through a conversion process. And I think that is why it is a limited period. You remember I said it is a one-off period for 12 months because it is just a certificate, because you are using that certificate on the strength of your foreign license. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lois. I think we were moving straight from that direction. It's a new question, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Please, okay, then from that, then we'll move to the gentleman in front. I need to see everybody once so that I can see how we can plan ourselves, eh? Otherwise, we'll be here until 2 o'clock dealing with one regulation. So we'll take that question, then this gentleman, then move to these two, then 1, 2, 3, and the other 2 will be the third lot. Okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Lumutu. Although I want to also direct this to our mayor, respected mayor, we have been in a significant cloud whereby conversion process has been, let's say, pain in the neck. We did see this new regulation 26 whereby, sorry, not 26, the new entry on line 34 of your 24th sub-regulation 5, the authority may automatically validate or convert a foreign license. And the prerequisites for this are what we request for in clarity, because an ALO exam is a basic requirement in some of the Icao world, in Africa and around the world as well. So if you have a reputable, if you hold a license from a reputable authority, you sit an ALO exam and it gets converted. What in addition to that is required to convert a license is what we really need to know, please. and also the added baggage of sitting exams time and time again. You can have very highly experienced engineers coming into this country to share their knowledge with us local, for example, people we have within our organization. The gentleman sitting to my left is highly experienced and he comes to share his knowledge with me. He's being restricted of conversion and a validation. It's really, you're bottlenecking the industry, you're bottlenecking the economy, and it is our request that Madam and the team at large will consider this request for clarity on this matter. It's been a very gray area for a very long time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me get that, then we can handle them together. You can go ahead. You have something to say? Let's get three. Then we can handle them together.
I would like to give another person. Mine is on another, it's not related to the maintenance issue.
I'm Francis from Kenya Airways. My question is in regard to the AIC that was released, as Lumutu talked about. There's some ambiguity on the AIC, so I would like some clarification. So they say that if you had already applied for both the license without typewriting and then you have booked a waiting to sit your practical exam, you are required to submit evidence of skill experience in compliance with this AIC. So when you go back to the table bit up there on the skill requirement, they say skill gained from a training organization or approved training organization ATO. So we would like to know, because some time back, KCAA released the ATOs that are approved, and I don't think we have any that they released on aircraft maintenance. So I don't know what these skill requirements that we need from ATO is. And then the other one is, they say the applicant must submit duly formed logbooks or OJT worksheets. So they have not specified the period that you are supposed to give these worksheets. Is it 6 months, or how long are you supposed to submit these worksheets for? Because the guys who are already at skill test level, you had already complied before. You had filled the worksheets for 3 years and you took them to KCAA. Now, are you going to consider those experience that we had given before, and this experience that you're supposed to submit, how long is it going for? Because it is subject to interpretation. Might go to KCAA and then you are told to give for 5 years, and already you had reached that level whereby you are just to sit for the skill test and you'll be given the license. The second question is on those guys who are converting. You have already done all the exams that are needed by the KCAA. So what are you going to submit on that when you are converting the license? And the third one is if you have one license, so that means that you have already complied with everything else, and that is how you got that first license. So how is it going to be for you if you're in skill test and you are going to acquire the next license? Will you still give the skill experience gained in the ATO and also for the worksheets that are needed? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen. My question is regarding Regulation 125, Sub-Regulation 3, that says an applicant must demonstrate the following minimum experience gained while maintaining operating aircraft and not in component workshop or on static or non-flying aircrafts. My area of contention is on the whole not in a component workshop, considering components do go onto live flying aircrafts. And when you look at Annex 1, Chapter 4, Part 4.2.1.3, it says an applicant shall have had the following experience in the inspection, servicing, and maintenance of aircraft or in components. It doesn't, in the Icao Annex, it doesn't necessarily negate the whole workshops or static or non-flying aircraft. So why do we have that clause in our regulation too. So does that mean that, for example, if you're in an engine overhaul shop, you can't fill out your worksheets from there, considering it does go onto a flying aircraft? That's my question. Yeah.
With the question that I had asked before, I would like to ask if you had paid for both the skill tests. Now, will that money be refunded, or what will happen, or how is it going to be?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the queries that you have brought forth. I will start with the first one, which Helen is also concerned about conversion process, which has stagnated for so long. This one, I will leave to our Director, Aviation Safety, to handle that one specifically. Maybe the reasons why KCAA has not been able to deliver these examinations for conversion candidates. But I will answer the second one from Helen regarding automatic validation and the prerequisites for that validation to be issued. This we have again indicated in the AMEL, the Kenya Aircraft Maintenance Engineers License Procedures Manual, which we have said specifically what you're supposed to have complied with. One of them is the requirement for air law examination if it applies, because there are some cases that will apply. On the same automatic validation, beyond what manager personnel licensing has read in the annex, we have recognized other contracting states with regard to Icao USOP audit results, so that we will be looking at either they have 80% in licensing. Then for that particular state, we may consider as the authority to allow you to validate automatically. So this we will share with you, our big document, so that we are specific, yes. That was automatic validation. And then you've mentioned conversion, and I've said the director will handle that one. The next one is with regard to AIC. I think for this one, because it's not related to what we are doing now, we will request that we could organize a forum with the licensed engineers and other stakeholders to discuss that particular AIC, because there are a lot of questions. But this is one AIC that the authority has released to relieve the industry, and especially engineers, from the current stalemate that they have been in for the past more than 6 years, we all know. And I think this thing started in 2017, and even before 2017, around 2016, for the engineers. The examination was stopped one night through an AIC 03-2017. And I think that was the beginning of the delays in engineers' license system. But now we are trying to correct it in a proper manner and in line with Icao requirements in the annex. So that one, kindly bear with us. We will coordinate. Then we create a forum very soon. We know the AIC is effective from today, but we will have a forum for you and we'll answer all those questions. Then when it comes to the third item here on components, Icao in its Annex 1, Chapter 4.2, talks about an operating aircraft and refers us to Icao Doc 7192, Part D1. This is for licensing of personnel other than flight crew. This includes the engineers. And in that particular document, Icao is clear that operating aircraft means maintaining an aircraft in the line, well defined what it is, base, that's in the hangar, and apron. Those three categories. So these components are on wing on the aircraft, not the components taken to the workshop. So we need to separate the two. So if you are working on components that are on wing on the aircraft during a C-check, that one will be credited by Icao as the minimum experience to be demonstrated before somebody is issued a license. I think I've answered all the questions, Director, with regard to delays in license conversion for the engineers in the country.
Yeah, I was trying to understand what the question was. I think it's about the conversion process. You say it was tedious or difficult. I said yesterday that you are working on it, and we hope by end of this month we'll have sorted that matter. I don't want to repeat this again, and I just want to say that there have been difficulties in expired contracts of those who have been dealing with maintenance engineers. And this is what we have been working on, to see that the contracts are reinstated and that it is not issue to do with the regulation, because delay in conversion has got nothing to do with that particular regulation. It's the processes within the KCAA that we are dealing with, and we are handling that with a matter of urgency. So that, but what requires in the regulation is important. Where conversions are required, the law stipulates where conversion will be done. And all the other requirements, we meet international standards. Maybe something I can add, if you want automatic validation, we also stipulated how automatic validation will be done. And also, like looking through the East Africa communities are coming together. All our countries have particular agreements with other international